And the recording has started.
So we are calling to order the annual meeting of the South Whidbey Parks and Recreation District on January 21st, 2026 at 6 p.m. We have a quorum present. First order of business is election of officers for the board.
All right. Well, as we all know, as part of the annual meeting, the board is to nominate and elect a chairperson, a vice chair. They have the option of electing a treasurer and a secretary. Provided in your packet was a description, which I know you're pretty familiar with. The only question amongst the board is if any changes want to be made or if everyone wants to leave things the way they are. Really kind of up to you as to how you want to proceed.
Changes.
Good.
Right. So then we just need nominations. And do you want to start with a particular position?
I think because what we did last year is we just did it as a group.
As a
And
blanket
we
because
just
there
did
were no
it. And
changes?
if you look at the verbiage that I provided, you could use that if you wanted to. Since there's no changes, we could just, you guys can just approve them to remain the same as they were at the end of the year for another year.
Okay.
Or you can do it individually if you want, but it's not required.
All right, I'll make a motion for the 2026 South Whidbey Parks and Recreation District Board of Commissioner Officers to remain the same as they were at the end of 2025.
I'll second that motion. It has been moved and seconded to the 2026 South Whidbey Parks and Recreation District Board of Commissioner Officers remain the same as they were at the end of 2025. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, aye.
Jake, aye. And aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Okay, thank you. Right, Commissioner Committee assignments.
Okay.
This one's going to be a little longer conversation.
Well, provided in your packet and up on the board now is a list of what the 2025 assignments were and the committees that we had. Last year, we made a few changes. I remember we had amphitheater was removed and pickleball was inserted last year. But again, these are your committees that you feel important and staff will be happy to give feedback. But the real question is, how do you guys want these committees to proceed and any changes, et cetera. So I'll leave it up to you to converse.
I'm content with mine as long as it's equitable and other people feel like they're in a position they want to be in.
Should we maybe start the discussion with which committees we'd like to eliminate first and then move into?
It's a good idea. Why don't we start with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 committees are listed. Are these 9 committees still committees that you feel are needed? Is there any that you would want to eliminate? Is there any that you'd want to include?
Could you remind us of what the governmental parks group is?
We had quite a discussion about that earlier and we're really not sure. I couldn't find anything in my folders that actually explained what that group was. I mean, I can make some assumptions that it has to do with parks organizations like Island County or State of Washington, other parks groups, South Whidbey, Port of South Whidbey, those kind of things. But I couldn't find anything in any of my files that gave a description as to what the purpose of that group was.
There was, as
Yeah,
I
please.
mentioned, there was an MOU with various entities like the city of Langley and I think the port.
Okay.
Some sort of agreement amongst them to cooperatively work. And there was a few meetings. That was like back in Doug's tenure a while back.
It was during the comprehensive plan development when we were trying to do basically a parks inventory, who had parks on the south end.
Oh.
And we realized we didn't have contact with any of these people, like any kind of formal contact. We said, next time around, it'd probably be worth building some relationships, getting to know the Langley people, getting to know the Allen County people, getting to know the, Whidbey Land Trust, I think that was because there was such a vacuum. And by now, I think I would say generally we know those people now. I don't know if more formal interface is better, probably is. I don't know. I think that's where it came.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. The other parks. Departments.
And they had showed up, it was also inspired. Island County, Helen Price Johnson showed up at one of our meetings to say, closing the lakes unless somebody's gonna sign up to pick them up, literally at the meeting. And, so that shows you how broken down the relationship was, that's how they came to tell us that the lakes were gonna be locked. Us, we picked them up, and I mean, Tom was in the meeting saying, we're saying, okay, well, how much is it gonna cost us if we crash out, we open and close them, like we're doing in the meeting itself. So that also was part of that, now that I remember.
So we probably got that pretty well dialed in now.
Well, yes, however, I will say we're once again at a point where the county is completing a comprehensive plan. And at a meeting today, they were reviewing the draft plan specifically for the Island County Park.
Yeah.
I have not yet read that part, and there will be a recording of that discussion available within a week. So perhaps, not that we necessarily need a committee, but probably a couple of us should listen to that part of the meeting to see if there is anything that pertains or could pertain to us down the way.
Does this include the port as well?
No,
They didn't,
Just
the only
Island.
property they had at the time, in the original.
No, I guess I meant the
Cleveland.
group itself.
Oh.
Are we talking about, because it listed off a number of things it could have represented. But it seems like one of the discussion points tonight is about the port as well.
Right, that's another group, another user group. I mean, the more we talk about this, the more I can see some value here.
Yeah,
Of keeping this
I
group
do as
together and
well.
having.
And that was another, I mean, when we did that inventory, they only had the Dorothy Cleveland Trail in the port inventory. But then 6 or 8 people from the community came to tell us that we needed to buy it. Parks needed to buy it because they were about to sell it off for a cell tower, or they were gonna lease it for a cell tower. So same kind of thing, like, you would think, like we thought, there's no need to have a relationship with the port district because they don't own parks or operate parks, but in the end, we had a large group in the community interested in us picking up property that was a park or trail.
and there too, I do attend many of the monthly court meetings. And they are certainly aware of my being part of this board. So I feel like there's some coverage that
Here's just pulling up the MOU from, I'm not sure what year, between the different,
2015, I think.
between the different jurisdictions.
I did hear something kind of side note on the governmental parks, but Island County is, I don't know if they green lighted it again or not, but the trail from the ferry to Kent's Corner is at least a discussion. I forget exactly what I read, but it sounded like they're trying to go through with that. At least in Kent's Corner. I think that was Commissioner Bacon's notes from last month.
they're multimodal
Yes, please.
transportation plan. So again, that's part of the transportation part of the comprehensive plan and not part of the park.
Do we lead that?
Sounds like
I feels that's the vibe. Interlocal, we'll be using that one very soon, so I probably need to keep that one, my suggestion, because that's gonna be very active this year. Sorry, and comprehensive plans, feeling, even though we're not actively doing the comprehensive plan in 26, we'll be doing it soon. Okay. Campground would be an obvious yes, I think, because it's still a project that we want in the loop. Maintenance and capital projects. That might be the next one worth discussing, because I'm not sure a scenario where I would bring this committee together, but I don't know. Thoughts?
That my recollection is when we said we wanted to establish a capital fund, we had no capital fund, history of the park. And then we said, let's establish capital fund. Probably need to have some, group to talk about what we would spend that money on, strategic objectives. And then we didn't put enough money in it for the first few years for it to be anything substantial. So I think the idea was to have some structure around some growing capital fund so that we could, rather than just it's all in maintenance. Do we want to talk about other capital priorities?
So we're handling that as a board. Does it feel like it needs a subcommittee?
I like the comp plan to me a little bit too, in that this upcoming year, if this is, we're approving committees for 26, and we are all kind of stuck. Oops. Hey, Marnie, you gotta mute yourself. Might be a committee that after the pool's built and we've got a little bandwidth for new things that maybe could be brought back. Possibly.
Taking it off for now.
That it would make sense to me. That makes sense to you. Oh, sorry. Yes, I can.
You can mute her.
What you're hearing.
Yes, my microphone is off.
Okay. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's about to be. It's going to be on YouTube. Yeah, she muted herself.
Where it says Mike, or is that you?
That's me. So I think she's muted herself.
Oh, I see down in the left corner. Got it.
Yes.
But she's up there twice, isn't she?
Or maybe she tried to log in twice.
See her twice.
Maybe she dropped.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
All right. We make a decision on maintenance and capital?
What our year-end capital fund is. My computer just died.
What was your question?
The capital fund.
The balance,
Yeah, balance.
$372.
And for people to spend 372.
But what was parked in there was the Maxwell Trails project, the bond money related to that, and then the property fund money for the campground. So we spent all of that down.
Yeah.
But we, in the capital projects count lines within M&O, not a self-balancing.
Yeah.
Doesn't have.
Yeah. So I'm getting the vibe that for 2026, this isn't a committee that you care much about. So I'm getting a lot of, nods. So maybe we hit that on the back burner. So what about pickleball? Pickleball project's pretty much completed. Just got some court servicing to do here in the spring.
I thought about that. What I foresee coming up is possible usage issues or the bleachers that we talked about, like the women still would like to follow through on that. So I'm not saying that it needs a committee, but just attention to those were the things that came to my mind.
It's not bad to have a committee because it gives me something if there's these kind of issues to go to two of you and say, hey, thoughts on this, instead of waiting to the next board meeting, get everyone's thoughts. Like we did with the field use when I think it was you two that in the field, we had field issues. So you bring up some interesting points that until the pickleball area is kind of settled as far as how we're going to bleachers, rub bleachers, it may not be a bad thing to keep it for another year at least. It's interesting.
And I agree with your point that it's likely that there's going to be some flashpoints, just settling into and to be able to have community come to people on committee on the board rather than just filling you guys all the time.
Yeah, it helps. And sports fields, I feel similar to pickleball. Sports fields, so paramount to what we do. It's nice to have a couple people available that when the issues flare up, which they haven't, knock on wood, but Lake Properties is probably one of the more active committees we have. Jake and Chris are doing a lot of stuff with the Department of Fish and Wildlife. Trails, I think similar. As far as you know, we have, nothing's really active right now in what we're doing, but it's nice to know that there's people out there you can reach out to. And then we have the swimming pool committee, which hasn't been active for a while, but it's certainly done a lot of work in the past. So I guess the last 4 or 5 that I throw out, any thoughts on those?
Just wanted to note that the Trails Committee in the past was part of their function was approving new trails that were going to be installed.
The ones across the street and walking the property over across land.
The swimming pool, I would say the same thing as the pickleball court, just going down the road, people might have things that they want to bring, not necessarily to the board, but have somebody's ear to talk to about, hey, I like this, I don't really like this, could we see a change? I think there's value in that.
The committee's posted on the website where we're circling back to the community saying that they need to go who to talk to. I don't know
They
that
can
that's
be.
posted.
Well, I was assuming that they would go through Brian, who then would say, you know, we do have 2 committee members that you can speak to, so it doesn't all land on
Okay.
Brian's
But
plate.
it would make
I-
sense, I think.
But you could put it out there too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but and even things like Port Angeles, people want to come and talk about their campaign or whatever, and rather than staff taking we can set up a meeting with them.
So I'm hearing other than the maintenance and capital, oh, goodness.
With the aquatic center, as opposed to a swimming pool. I think especially for the first couple of years, the whole board is gonna wanna know
What's going on?
everything that's going on.
Yeah, there'll be a
I
lot
think
of
it's
moving
bigger
pieces.
than a committee. And that's not to say that, like in the example that Matt gave, that, you know, individual tasks can be given to a couple of members, but I don't know if there needs to be an exact committee.
I'd say if we kept it, I would change it to call it the aquatic center.
That also makes sense, yeah. That's what it
Right
is.
about I'm easy either way. I think questions might come up about the history of, like, why was this done? You know, and it's nice to be able to say, well, you know, we were on that committee for so very long, to be able to talk to someone and say, this wasn't just the seat of the pants kind of thing. There was discussion about it. We visited, we came up with a plan that we thought would please the masses. So
Yep. A lady came in yesterday with a newspaper article from 1989 where she had written a letter to the editor saying that we can't just rely on the Ocarbor. And I have it over there on my desk. It's
rely on the way.
we can't just rely on the Ocarbor pool because the Ocarbor pool is relatively new at that point, a few years old at that point. But anyways, it was very cute. It was a sweet little article advocating back in the 80s. So
I don't know. I just know from school district stuff that being one of the elders now that memories are short sometimes. And every now and then you need to stand up and just say, you know, this wasn't something that was taken lightly.
Yeah.
Clarity. But I agree. I mean, obviously, so if we go down the road with the pool, it's going to affect the whole board.
Sure.
Either way.
Are we keeping it or not keeping it? I'm not feeling that I'm hearing.
I'm doing a little.
I think we should, I think we should keep it just from a
rename
structural
it.
standpoint. I mean, and I think that our policy be that anything that happens, I would say with any of these committees, we share with the board because that's how I think it'll work most smoothly. And it just be like when we do these the report outs on a monthly basis, that's where we exchange all, you know, these 3 things happen, these 3 interactions, these 3 requests, inquiries, whatever.
But relabeling it aquatic center.
Aquatic Recreation Center would probably be. Call it what it is. ARC. Yeah. So the two changes I've heard so far is get rid of the maintenance capital for this year and rename the swimming pool committee. Okay. Any other changes? Any other committees you think? I would say from a staff perspective, I can't think of any other committees that I think would add value from our perspective.
Is there, back to the first 2, is there any value in like combining those 2?
That's
Are
interesting.
they different enough that they need to be separate?
Is it interlocal school district solely?
No,
That's where we're.
you can have an interlocal in any government agency almost, or you can have an interlocal with any government agency.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, I think my recollection of that was, it was really focused on the school district. I don't remember there being.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah,
That was the difference.
that's fine.
That was what was different between government parks group.
And that was a full-time job for,
I think that's coming up.
It might become a full-time job again very soon. We'll get to that. And so maybe the interlocal committee should be renamed a school district or community partner or something like that. That's more engaged with the relationship aspect of those. Whereas the government group is more for the contracts and I don't know. I'm just talking out loud.
well, it's not that, I mean, we remember we were getting all these inquiries in the public meetings about, are you guys talking to the school? Right, are you talking to these, and to be able to say, yeah, we have a committee that's tasked with, the subcommittee is tasked with just building our relationship, continuing that. So I think it's not a bad thing for the community to know that we do have that interest and structure for the school specifically. I forgot about that. You're exactly right.
I would agree.
So keep it named interlocal,
That's, I mean, yeah.
and it can be what it needs to be, but primarily the focus is.
And that's, this upcoming year, and we'll talk about that later, we're going to be directly dealing with this. So it's going to become a very active committee very quickly because, I think we'll put it together relatively easily, but there's going to be a lot of,
I was sitting
Getting on the same
thinking about
page.
why interlocal, but it could be a group like a PTSA type group as well that has an interest in doing something
Sure.
through Park and Rec. So
Isn't the name of the agreement we have signed with them called the interlocal agreement?
so that's fine.
I
I'm
mean,
not
it's
fine
not
with
the
it.
most
Descriptive title.
But if the purpose of that committee is really to keep a bridge between us and the school district, then it probably should be called school district, or something like that. Because interlocal is very specific to one document that we have with them. It's not necessarily about the relationship. So really, it's what the purpose of that committee is. The purpose of that committee is to, as our largest, neighbor in serving kids in our community, is that,
and sharing of facilities. Yeah, I guess.
facilities and all the
I'm
logistical
trying to
stuff.
think beyond interlocal, how you would work that.
Well, you
and
could
why
call-
protocol.
You could call it interlocal agreements instead of interlocal committee,
What about
because you
this
can have different kinds or MOUs.
Southwood Parks or Southwood School District Committee?
Just
Keep it simple.
who signs the interlocal on their side? Is it staff or is it the school board?
Well, the last one was done like 20 years ago, but I think it was the superintendent and it was the school board president. And I think that a lawyer, I think there's 3 or 4 signatures on it from there. And I've been reading it lately.
That's who we met with at the last meetings that we had. Maybe I remember Jennifer was, that very group.
Well, we also remember we went to the school board meetings themselves and we got, talked to the hand.
Yeah. Yes.
That was.
So, I mean, to me, the scope would be to build relationship with the board too. Says, I think that it would break down if they wouldn't sign the agreement.
Agreed.
Right?
You gotta
It
start.
kind of has to be one-on-one rather than in their meeting where they can.
Yeah, the meetings are ugly.
Yes, because the word interlocal is a contract, it's an agreement, it's paperwork. It's like the comprehensive plan. It's a document that gets created every so often. If that's the purpose of this committee, fine. But if the purpose of the committee really is making sure that we're, staying on good terms and working on that relationship, then changing the title of the committee makes sense to me. It's really more about the school district relationship.
You got the best name idea, Eric.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking more communicative about it, the purpose of it is communication and that's the value in it. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to be on the board was to hopefully create a closer relationship between Park and Rec and the school district itself.
Right.
So I don't know. Interlocal committee doesn't sound anything like what I'm talking about.
I didn't hear you give any, or Jay give a name. I didn't hear. Did you give up a possible name?
No,
Okay.
no, I did not.
Schools, just.
No, because every time I do that, like an educational committee, like even interlocal educational committee, I'm just trying to leave it open-ended at the same time, but the primary focus is schools.
Schools committee is a little broader too, because there's schools beyond just the school district.
That's
So,
where I was going with it.
yeah, if you do schools, it can include the private schools and then, the other schools that are in the island, homeschool kids.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea if they're gonna be constituents of school, for
Yep.
example.
I was thinking about ICA right away, and that's what, that's why I was veering from anything that said South Whitby School District, but rather educational communities.
School committee. Simple. Seems to do it.
School committee, the school.
There we go. We're gonna rhyme. And the maintenance one will be called the tool committee. And so, like,
I like,
I don't know, thoughts, school committee? It's simple.
Well, we
I like-
agreed to get rid of the governmental parks group because we were going to lump those other entities into the interlocal.
Did we?
No, for
Did you?
No,
I don't think we agreed to get rid of that.
We're gonna get rid of the maintenance capital.
oh, we're keeping the, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
And
you.
we're just tabling the maintenance for,
I think,
School partnerships
I-
committee.
yeah, school, yeah,
that's a nice, I like
Yeah,
that.
that's-
Considering that.
yeah, school partnership committee. Makes a little sense.
Yes. Partnership. Oh, look at that. Very welcoming.
And I might suggest getting rid of the word parks and governmental groups to get more flexibility. Because some of our government relationships aren't parks, they're other
probably just government.
governmental committee, governmental group committee, governmental.
What could be the governmental partnership committee?
Yeah.
There we go.
Local-
Yeah.
How about moving local to that local government
Yeah,
group?
There we go.
But
Are you typing all this up?
Okay, devil's
Yeah.
advocate, though,
some of it.
you were just talking about the bridge to boat trail. So that whole trail exists and the liaisons with the state DOT, because it's an 80-foot right of way on either side of 525. It's all state, nothing to do with county or anything. Any permissions, like, because we had that in the trail comprehensive plan, the idea that we would connect to that, like get from the highway to the school and park on trail, like kind of the way, and you had to get permission to do the project from state DOT. I had to go meet with them and write a letter and they have a 5-page form. Anything in there right away. So that's the status, another one. For that bridge to vote if it happens, and they actually.
So governmental partnership,
School government. So
school partnerships,
Partnership.
School partnership, yeah.
and get rid of maintenance, aquatic recreation center instead of swimming pool. And that seems reasonable.
Okay, wait, let me make sure I got what you said. Okay, I got local government, school partnerships. Comprehensive plan programs still,
Yeah, but that stays.
campground.
Yep.
Football.
Yep.
Sports fields.
Yep.
Lake properties.
Yep.
Trails.
Yep.
Aquatic recreation
There
center.
we go. So then question 2 is, you guys are all kind of, I think we haven't moved around the committees too much in the past. But here's an opportunity to start over, move around. Someone wants to say, hey, I'd love to be part of fill in the blank.
Intent.
Yes, and
It's the coffee, isn't
Good.
it? Are 5 or content?
for a motion for,
Everyone else can.
Well, so. Do we need to take a look at who's sitting in first and second place and alternate and determine whether or not those are good assignments?
Sure.
Shift things around there. Maybe happy with your committee, but should you be the first or second? Perhaps be the alternate?
In past experience, I think both Commissioner 1 and Commissioner 2 tries to attend, correct? And the alternate, the idea being that if someone cannot be there. Right? So once again, I am content with the makeup unless, because there's no overseeing of Commissioner 1 versus Commissioner 2.
Right.
Right.
They're both on an
Okay.
equal playing field.
Yeah.
Yes.
Matt, what is your schedule looking like in 2026 based upon 2025?
It's,
Should we
yeah,
put you into alternate positions?
it's looking good. Well, good. Double-edged sword. My company just closed our local business yesterday. So, dramatic change in free time.
So you're confident then that sitting in first or second is going to work
Yes.
out okay for you this year? Okay, great, thank you.
And we would entertain a motion.
Who's going to do that?
Well, I did the motion in a way that, because Carrie's been taking notes, and if you need Carrie to read back anything we talked about, the only changes we made were to the groups, and she read that. So the motion basically just acknowledges that, as Krista looks like she's about to read.
I make a motion to approve the South Whidbey Parks and Recreation District Board of Commissioner Committee assignments as discussed and agreed to at the annual meeting.
Second motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the South Whidbey Parks and Recreation District Board of Commissioner Committee assignments as discussed and agreed to at the annual meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, I.
Jacob,
Not I.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Great, thank you. Great.
Sure.
So we're going to adjourn that. I wasn't quite sure where this assessor piece fell. Is that for
That
the
part,
financial?
that was
report?
that was just requested by Krista, or at least mentioned by Krista, so I included it in the.
Okay, so then we will
packet.
adjourn the annual meeting at 6:32. Then we will call together the January 2026 meeting of the Board of Commissioners for the South Whidbey Parks and Recreation District at 6:32. We have a quorum present. Is there anyone for public comment?
There is not.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody signed that signature sheet.
Yes.
Okay.
We did.
Sure where it landed. Do I have it?
It's in the middle.
Oh, it's there. Okay, thank you. All right. Right, so no one for public comment. All right, then we'll move on to the financial report, please.
Well, it's been an incredibly busy financial month this month with end of the year stuff, plus the bond rating and finishing up the audit. But you'll see that this report encapsulates the entire 2025 because it's January through December. You'll see that our overall revenue was about $102,000 more than what we had projected. And our expenditures were $213,000 less than what we had expected. So a net difference of around $315 in the positive, which is a good way to end the year. And I think we were able to get done and accomplished everything we wanted to. There was nothing not purchased or not finished that we had sat on. So I felt good about that. The fund balances are healthy. You'll see this for the last time. And this was, oh, sorry.
Question,
Yep.
yeah, so usually the parentheses means
Negative.
You're right.
negative.
Sorry. And I didn't take this off from last month. Last month it did have a negative and I
Right,
didn't take
okay.
it off. That was a typo.
So we ended up with a net profit.
Yeah. You'll see our revenue, you'll see the revenue here was 2.686 versus 2.583. So that was a typo. Good catch. Fund balances, you'll notice next month, this will be the last time you'll see the capital fund for a while. This is where we spent it out over the last few months, leaving the last $372, which can be just kind of a placeholder for now until we figure out, the next steps on that. M&O, and all the other balances were pretty consistent with where they've been. So nothing too much. As we get into the pool construction fund.
What's the reserve balance target for 2026 year end?
I would have to hold that up.
The,
Relative to 636,
okay, so ask your question again.
the target reserve balance for the end of 2026.
End of 26.
Budgeted goal. I'll come back as Carrie, because Carrie might look that up, and I don't want to look it up on my computer because the world is watching. Construction fund, just an overview of where we're at. We're in really good shape considering that we're planning to get the other 12 million this spring. To date, we've received a little over $626,000 in interest. which is great. We've used about $3.6 million in expenditures on the project. So, oops. And so our balance is about 12 million. We're spending about anywhere to up to $2 million a month in expenditures. So, based on how much work's being done. So that fund is good. And our goal is to get the other 12 million released in March. So, so we'll be in good shape for the rest of the year. Putting off as long as we can that LTGO loan that we're going to have to get. The farther we put it off, the more accurate the number will be, and ideally the lower the number will be. So we're in good shape that way. The contingency fund, which is a new feature of the report, just kind of let you know this is an important part of the budget for the pool. The contingency started just a little under $3 million. Last month we were down to about 2.564. As you can see, we actually put money back into it this month. For the main reason was several items in the budget were identified as being non-taxable, and the budget had put tax on them. So when they cleaned that all up, it added quite a bit of money back into the contingency, which is great. We did have a increase on sales tax on the island to 9.9%. So that had a little negative impact, but overall, as you can see, the contingency put almost $100,000 back into it for last month. So that's good. That's not going to be common. Most months we're going to lose, but right now, considering how much earthwork has been completed, that's where a lot of contingency they say is often eaten up. We're feeling pretty good about what hasn't been used yet. So we have got a bulldog at the gate, and that's our project manager. He will argue, and every little request for more money, he is brilliant at fighting for. So he's been a great advocate to keeping these contingency money in place. So I think Carrie has an answer
Okay.
to the question.
So, yeah, to the ending reserve at the end of 26 was expected to be 654.86. And the ending capital reserve, which might have been actually what you were asking about earlier, is 15,333.
Where did the 315K that we were net positive or favorable to budget, where did that end up?
That'll bump that up. Well, that'll bump up our ending cash. But I think I was still estimating.
You'd already budgeted ending cash to be right.
Yeah.
So where are we gonna put the 315,000?
Well, we have a large, where are we gonna put it? It's gonna stay in the M&O to meet our beginning cash for moving forward. So both of the beginning cash and the reserve have a big target to reach to meet the requirements for our bigger budget. So it'll help us get to our beginning cash for next year.
You just said it was only 18K. Was that 654 for the year-end reserve balance target? You said 654K.
Yeah.
That's only 18,000 more. You said we had a big number to get to.
So, okay, so we're meeting our beginning cash and beginning reserve requirements for 26, right? Which is the 25%, each of those 25% of the total expenditures.
Yep.
Except we didn't count that transfer that we're gonna make. Anyways, and then 27 we'll be building it up further because we're gonna have the operational expenses of the pool, but not a full year. So we'll be getting bigger.
Totally get it. So where's the 314,000 gonna go then? If it's not going to the reserve, only 18,000 is going to the reserve fund. 300,000 left.
It'll be in M&O, beginning cash.
Could it go to capital? The capital fund that only has $300 in it?
Well, we're expecting that. So when we were doing when we were doing the 26 budget, we knew that we were going to be under expending some of those funds, right? We knew we were going to be doing better than the budget expected. So that was calculated into the calculations for transfers to the reserve and keeping funds in the beginning cash. So now I trade a thought.
So the 350.
We're not really moving that much. It's going to sit there and it'll help us reach our goals for the next year of
Right,
beginning cash.
But if it's really surplus to beginning cash and surplus to our reserve target for the end of the year, it could be available capital projects that are outside the. Got a lot of deferred capital. We got,
But we're gonna need it to reach our beginning cash and beginning reserve requirements for the next year. So it just helps us get to that goal.
okay.
It's, knowing what we're gonna need, we need to keep building on those
So how do
funds
we
to
keep it
get.
from just getting absorbed into the entity? Like you're just saying, just carry it as cash and we just spend it from M&L in and out. It's just, we got an extra 300,000 in there. Yeah, it'll show up next January. We'll say, hey, great, we met beginning cash for 2027.
So some of those expenditures were deferred to 26. So for instance, the pickleball court. What was that? 60,000, 70,000?
70,000.
Something like that,
And that, but that's expended out of what fund?
you know? So it's not just, we have a big hurdle to get to rebuilding our reserves and beginning cash for an operation that is what, 3 times the twice the,
2027. That's going to be the huge hurdle.
yeah.
Right.
And then even more so 28, because 27, we will only be operational probably for, I don't know, 6 months.
8 months, hopefully.
Yeah.
So if we don't carry this $300,000+ over, then this time next year, we're gonna be in a real problem.
No,
Because
I get it. I'm just saying that the risk is we get to the end of 2026 and we say, hey, it's gone. We've spent it. And
But we haven't budgeted to spend it.
yeah, I don't know how we can spend it. I mean, the only way we could spend money that big would be if we put it towards the pool. We would.
Well, we're doing a large transfer, right? 1,100,000 and
Yeah.
something thousand.
Which was part of the levy
Support
passing.
the pool, yeah.
Levy passing, we're putting money towards that, so we don't have to take out as
Yeah.
big of an LTGO loan. So. Yeah, it's those increased reserves. Carrie and we've talked quite a bit about this, and Carrie's put a lot of work into. It's a big hurdle to get to. That, because the numbers are just gonna shoot up, but, fortunately with the levy passing, the plan kind of fell into place. I think the numbers work obviously a lot better, because we'll be able to, but we can't just spend them. It'd be nice if we could, but.
No, we have to build up those, yeah. The beginning cash is absolutely essential. The reserves, we should as well. And then, yeah, we will be sitting on a pretty large pot of money the foreseeable future, because those are our fiscal requirements that we set for ourselves.
in the beginning,
Basically 50% of our budget.
you know what the beginning cash number is for 2025 year or 2026 and 2027?
Beginning cash. 26 and 27.
One we just carried forward.
Okay, well, when I was doing the budget, I had estimated that we would be at about 854 for
Okay, and then
26.
2027, it's gonna be,
It was 1,447,000. And those are both M&L.
you're saying we have 600,000 roughly to add the beginning cash for next year,
Towards 2027,
2027.
Yeah. I guess,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to sit down with you to look at the
No,
6-year projection, which is now what, 10 or 11 years?
Well, it was in the board packet in November too, that if you want to dig it up.
Yeah, I mean, it just says we've got 315,000 of that right now. So from carry forward from 2025, so we need to get another, in the budget needs to be another 300,000 to get us to start beginning cash for 27 between now and then.
The levy passing makes that impossible. It's an increase of 600,000 from what we're doing this year.
I'm with this much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Vouchers? Not too much excitement in my end on vouchers. I highlighted a couple things just worth pointing out. general election, that's where the November election came due. So we would love to have got that in last year's. Yeah, it wasn't, for four things on the ballot, it was 10,000 or 11,000, we'll take it. Crush Rock, this is the rock. We'll talk a little bit about the pickleball parking lot. But Tom and his guys have been doing a lot of work up there. That's what that Morley and Sons is.
Is that the same Crush Rock that was at the top of the list? There was some other.
No, that was more Filler Rock. That was more like that. This was used specifically for the parking lot at the pickleball court. And do I have one more that I highlighted? I think I did. Just the audit. We got the bill for the audit we got done. So came in, good to get that out of the way. So
Yeah, so
Carrie,
we paid it later in December, so.
yeah, so that was good. We got that in December at least. That's worth, so helps with the budget. So any questions about the vouchers? Other than that, I thought were pretty straightforward. Any questions, anything?
I can't remember if you said this at some point, but the elections cost.
Yeah.
Which ideally should have been
Last year,
last year.
ideally.
Did you already say that?
They did.
Okay. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm on.
I was on a different plane.
Any other voucher questions?
I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, I.
Krista, I.
Jake,
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes.
I'm sorry, who made that motion?
I did.
Staff report, please, Brian.
Well, we're going to start off with a little bit of the challenge, and I'm going to tell you the story of how this the last couple months, or actually really the last month. Try not to make any commentary. I'm just going to give you just the facts as we know them. In the fall, Sky reached out to the community center, let them know verbally and in a shared calendar that we have that we're planning to bring back the basketball league. Basketball league's been out there for 25 years or so. We've looked at about that. So they knew we were coming. Late December, I want to say after Christmas, we were notified that there was a new system, a Google form that needed to be turned in, and that a select basketball coach who runs a few middle school boys basketball teams put the Google form in, thus he gets priority in January. In other words, we can't have the upper gym, thus we can't run a 4th and 6th grade boys league in January. Frustrating, but their response to us was first come, first serve. And so we adjusted, and it was only about a 2-week difference in our schedule. So Sky worked with Little League, make sure there was no conflicts on the other end. As far as if we moved the season back into mid-March, Little League was very easy to work with. So we got a new schedule to go February to mid-March. Great, we're back on pace. Got the form in right afterwards, December 30th. Before anyone else had the form in for February and March, we were the first one to have our form in. And did everything the way they wanted us to. And then they started pushing back like, well, they basically were trying to find a way for us to go somewhere else, to another gym, cancel other programs or do something. And let this select team have their first priority of space. He wanted Monday through Friday most days, right in the middle of the day, so like that 4 to 6, 7 slot. And we're like, we spent literally the last 3 weeks back and forth trying to get a black and white answer from the community center. Like, are you bumping us out? Tell us, and if so, why? Included the superintendent from the school district because it's their building and they're part of the decision process. Literally, even as of today, we're not getting an answer. We're like, at this point, just tell us no if you're going to tell us no. But don't ignore us. Because every time they responded, it wasn't with a simple yes, you get it or no, you don't. It was, well, we'd like to, it was a lot of passive language, a lot of not, very gray. So finally I sent an email directly to the superintendent on a side email, just the two of us, and said, we need help here. We have parents now contacting us. They're not getting their practice times because we can't give them practice times because we don't know when we have the gym. And we're not getting any communication anymore. So then later, like literally an hour or so before the board meeting, Sky hops on the community center website and sees that they have listed on their schedule all of the select teams' practice times in February and March, and none of ours. So seems like a decision was made. And then right after that, not the leadership from the community center, but the person who runs the front desk. So the administrative assistant, for lack of a better way to put it, I think, sent an email saying, well, the decision was made and that the superintendent found another gym for you. And well, I think the other gym was the South Campus gym, where we already have the first to third graders. So there's not a space there, and it's not the right gym anyways. So long story short, and this was literally right before the board meeting tonight, so we haven't had a chance to respond yet. Still haven't heard from anyone in leadership about this, but all indications are they've made a decision to not let us have the gym for basketball, to let the middle school boys select team use the gym. And as I've asked them multiple times at this point, I just need a logical reason why. Because at first you said we didn't get the form in. Okay. You have a new system. See, the system used to be that Sky did all the scheduling for everybody. And they decided they didn't want to do that. So we're trying to play by their rules. But in February and March, we did play by their rules. And they still gave it to this other gentleman or this other guy. Now, are there other issues involved? Are there people that are playing and working with this select team that maybe have connections that are a little higher up? Yes. Are there other things that we're concerned about? Yes. Is this a real challenge for us relationally? When we have 65, 64 kids right now signed up to play, and we're not sure we can run a league. Right now, their practice slots are right after school for an hour, a couple days a week that are available. So if don't have a job and your kid can get to the community center, because there's no transportation. And then there's a couple days where there's a 7 to 8 o'clock slot. So basically, if you want to have your kid out late. So it's very frustrating and confusing. Wasn't planning to bring it up to this detail, but I think it's important that you guys know that this is, as we talk about a school partnership committee, this is what we're talking about. Because there's a brokenness here of communication that's I don't want to get back to a contentious relationship with the schools. I think we've worked very hard over the last few years to build relationship and to build some trust. And so this last month, Sky has been under immense stress as everyone's coming to him, right? Coaches want to know when they're practicing, parents want to know what's happening. He's trying, and meanwhile, we're not getting any communication. So long story, that was just long story long, actually. Tomorrow I will go try to find the superintendent again, try to reach out to the person in charge of the community center, although she's often not on site. And at the very least, we need to sit down. I need someone to look me in the eye and just explain the logic of pumping a boys and girls league of recreation where everyone plays, for a select team where you try out. And it isn't there. I can't get to logic on this. Anyways, that's my vent. That's what we're dealing with right now. It's what Sky's dealing with.
We waited 23 days. As soon as we found out we didn't have it, immediately then sent in our next 5 months worth of, make sure that we.
On December 30th.
On December 3rd. So that was when everything was sent in. And for 23 days, we've gone back and forth through emails, but we tried numerous times, like, can we meet up? Can we have a discussion with this? And in 23 days, we did not have a single in-person or on the phone conversation with the community center director or the superintendent. And I mean, we're right over here. And we didn't hear anything, I think, from the superintendent until last night. That was the first we heard.
And I understood her email now. I think what she was saying was the South Gym, yada, yada. And I'm like, I don't think she realizes. See, historically, just from a visual, this is kind of the history of the gym usage. In, approximately 2000 to 2018, we ran our basketball league. We had the community center. We had the elementary school campuses. We had the high school carry reminded for a while, and there was no fee. There was no charge. In 2018, I pulled up the board minutes. The decision was made by the school board to remove the school board, yeah, to remove the community center from the ILA. In other words, it needs to make money, so we're gonna need to charge. Okay. And then in 2023, we were told that the North Campus Elementary School is no longer available to us. So now instead of having high school, all these things, we've lost the high school, we've lost the North Campus. Now this year, they're taking away one of the gyms at the community center. So our usage is just really coming here. And we've been very accommodating, trying to be reasonable. But at some point, at some point, I'm not going to accommodate.
Are they charging a different price to?
We don't know because they have no they have no rates listed that we can.
I can just say that, last year we paid like $20,000 or $22,000 for rental fees at the facility center.
And we make that money in pickleball. So it isn't like we're losing money at the gym. But that's not the point is that you got to treat us, the word partner, as we used to when we were making the committees, you got to treat us like a partner, and a partner communicates. And if there's a logical reason why you would bump out our community group or a select team, then let's hear it. Let's have a conversation. Like Sky said, at least 3 different times I emailed saying, let's talk, let's meet. Earlier tonight, we saw someone in the parking lot I tried to catch, but they veered the other way. So we're trying just to have a communication, and right now we're not getting it. So
back to the original point of changing the scheduling process. Did they inform us that we're going to change it and you're no longer going to schedule it? We're going to have this Google form, or did it just happen?
There was the community center, I got an email in September that just said, oh yeah, here's a link to the new form that we. This is how we're gonna do this. But but through that, I was still communicating with the front desk person. We're still working off a shared calendar because there's so much use, you don't know who's where when. And I want to say it was like mid-November, they said, hey, because I was like, well, how do we do this when I've got so many different things? And so in November, it was just do a general request for the entire month, and then like send me a PDF of the list mode of this Google calendar. So I did that. Come December, I'd had the select coach reach out to me on the 23rd of December and just said, hey, here's what I'm thinking. We'll touch base after the holidays. I come after the holidays, first day I'm back. It just said, well, this person put it in, and so they're getting it. I went to the community center. I talked to the admin assistant up there and just was like, how did this come about? Like, I had communications with this. Like, well, I mean, it's in my mind, but yeah, it has to be the form. And so the decision was made that they put it in first. So I was like, okay, I will in a new form. Here is 51 pages of requests for the next 5 months that I know we're going to have. And then from there, it just, we're never given, the reasoning kind of evolved and changed and wasn't ever laid out clear. We asked for a clear policy on how it is. Which they created after we asked for it.
But they did create.
They did. Some of the things on the website, it says you have to give 72 hours notice if there are any changes or cancellations, or you'll be charged half the fee. What we were given said it was 2 weeks, which then put us in a pinch this last week or so, because I'm looking to use it beginning February 2nd, and we're within 2 weeks now. So if I have to make a change, even though I don't know how, I don't have this time yet, you're saying that according to this policy, I would get charged for it.
Well, but they haven't given you a confirmed schedule.
I know.
Said you have it, so you're in the 2-week window. If you don't even have it yet, there is no 2-week window.
My take on it is it just kind of, I think they might have had an idea what they want, but it was just kind of getting made up on the fly.
And I think the community center staff And Sky knows how confusing it is to schedule these gyms. There's a lot of people, and Sky was excellent at trying to get as many people in there as possible and to accommodate the different groups. I mean, when we're constantly being told, hey, a karate group's coming in this weekend, we'd move around, we'd be flexible. I mean, it was working the way it was working. And to Matt's question, I think it's important. They gave us some information in the fall, but it wasn't obviously clear. It wasn't a, hey, if this Google form isn't in, you don't get it. It's like you got to turn the Google form in as part of the process, but a verbal confirmation plus the shared calendar that we've been using for years, plus 25 years of doing the same program in the same location. Common sense.
Has there been a change in personnel there?
Not at the community center. And my priority now is talking about the school partnership committee is to keep that relationship healthy, because we worked hard to get that healthy, and I think it has been healthy. And I don't think it's unhealthy now, but there clearly needs to be a face-to-face meeting, and I think that would clear a lot of this, because we're very close to them closing their sports fields down, and I'm sure putting a lot of requests in to use our fields because they're doing the synthetic turf. We're getting very close to putting an aquatic center across the street where they're going to have swim teams and other groups wanting to come and use the pool. And that's what we want. We want them to use our parks. We want them to use our pools. But we certainly have to be in a relationship. That's why this ILA is going to be so important. We need to be in a relationship where there's mutual respect and communication. And for the most part, there has been. For the last month, there hasn't been.
Well, but you reminded us that the ILA, the community center, was removed from the ILA.
Yes.
So a strong ILA with still no community center, and it doesn't help us, right?
It needs to be
She-
put back in.
Yeah, she wants a separate agreement.
Well, she being this community center, not the superintendent. So I think community center has to be in the ILA. They may not give it to us for free, and I understand that. I understand that they're trying to keep that building open and they need some revenue, and that doesn't bother me as much, and I bother you. But there needs to be some clear boundaries, because right now we had basically no agreement with the community center. We had a 1 or 2 page kind of liability thing that was kind of generic form they gave us a couple of years ago. But we need something protecting our programs, protecting our families, all these kids.
Well, the ILA, the thing about the cost of facilities is part of the ILA, but the structure of it was the priority of who had access. So it said for a parks field, first priority is a park user, right? And then the school is the second priority, but they're second. It's not, then, there's private groups and outside groups. Those all fall below the school. Whether we charge them or not, it's immaterial. And then on the school side, it said first priority is the school group, like school soccer team. And then the second priority is a park user. So that was the interlocal part. So to pull something out just because, and I remember this conversation, and that's when we were trying to go to talk to their board, and mess was because they communicate, as you described in many cases, was to pull that out just because they're going to start charging us for it just means that now we're not subject to that.
Yeah.
In that mutual prioritization, we were saying we will reach out to you and your users. If you reach out to us and our users, that's the partnership part. And then to pull pieces out of that.
What's interesting is what you just described is in our policy manual, but was taken out of the interlocal. It's not.
I know.
The verbiage in there doesn't say that we have to give priority to them or they have to give priority to us. So it was in the notes of the meetings that as when this was being developed, you can read about that discussion point, but it didn't actually make it into the signed contract. But it is in our policies that we give the school district number 2 priorities. So the last thing I want to do is become contentious with this. But we need to defend the line of respect, and no relationship works well if you don't have a respect. And I'm not saying that they don't respect us. I'm just simply saying this last month has been rough and weirdly rough, because to me, this is kind of black and white. And so we're going to have some more conversations going forward. I pull in my school partnership committee.
Well, this is where history comes into it. And this is something I'm heavily involved in because I coached in the Swiss League. So I coached select and I coached in both, right? I was heavily involved with the basketball thing, both my son and my daughter. So explain to me how we've gotten to a point where our population is half of what it was when they were doing these programs, right? But we can't find gym space. That would be my number one question. We have the same amount of gyms. We have not destroyed
Interesting.
a gym.
They've
What we
lost
destroyed
one
is the culture of being able to share and being able to, we were able to coach at night. We were able to take those swish select players, and age appropriate meant that, okay, Jokiah, you're going to have to practice later. I mean, it's kind of a common sense thing above and beyond all the problematic things that you're mentioning right now. I have philosophically a trouble with, like, we're doing justice. We're not doing justice to 65 fourth and fifth graders that want to play basketball. The question I have, did they give you a spot? And I heard the old elementary school gym. Is that what I heard?
We think, again, this all came from the administrative assistant at the community center. But on a separate email I got this morning, it referenced that we would charge you the same rate for the South Campus gym. So I don't know if they were inferring that we could, which we can't because we've already got a full league in there. It's not a gym for that can accommodate that. So
I'm just curious if there was a lack of communication, like Becky, for example, you know what I mean, in terms of what she's hearing and what's actually taking place. I try to give everybody an inch that way.
sure.
Well, what about the multi-purpose gym as well?
Multi-purpose gym, it's pretty well used for the pickleball that we have going there. And we have our weekday groups, and then we have night and weekend groups. They're two totally different groups. One of the bigger issues with it is we don't have just like the simple set up pickleball nets anymore. We bought the really nice ones on the wheels that, you know, they can roll, but you can't take them apart and move them. So there are times where they get moved maybe to the side for like I think the children's center goes in there for like an hour every once in a while. But what we've seen is that every time, like if you leave them in there, they will get wrecked. They will get.
So no basketball being played in that gym.
So what?
So no basketball is being played in that gym.
The gym's got some other issues. Yeah, it's not the right gym for this.
Okay, so Ken, given what you were just saying, and just using that gym and the select team and the league, could they coexist, or does one boot the other?
I mean, the easiest way is it's the ask of, I think right now what it is you have this new basketball club that comes in, and they're looking to have 3 teams with, you know, 1.5 to 2 hour practices per team a week. So that's taking up, like, even if we found a way, I mean, it could be worked if that group was willing to practice at night and didn't have to have so much practice for each individual.
We're having 2 practices a week, but then they're not playing here,
They're playing over in Scat. They're paying, I don't know, $1,200 a team to go play over there.
I think we practice 2 times a week.
Yeah, usually it was like 2 1-hour practices a week is about what the norm was on it. And there was communication with the basketball club for a long time. I mean, it's one person. But even when trying to run programs that are through us, it was, I mean, I've got 2 years worth of emails where it's, this is ridiculous. Why do you have futsal up there? Why did they get 2 nights? Like, why do you have to have so much pickleball? This isn't, it was always just, it's to fit the schedule of one individual. And, like I had to explain to somebody the other day, I'm like, I get a person wants to do this, but this is my job. My job is to try and create this recreation for people. And I laid out 5 months in advance what it is that we need with it. And there is space for this because of it. But then there's somewhere along the lines, there is somebody that's saying, yeah, they'll still get it. And
So take your 5-month schedule, how much time, how many practice windows during the week could that other team get? in your 5-month schedule?
Well, because they're only gonna need it for February and half of March. So,
And then you could have all.
I'm gonna have 7 teams that need to practice. So it all depends on what those, because without even having the gym space, I can't tell coaches, hey, what works for your schedule? Thank you for volunteering. I know that you all have different schedules and we try to make this so it can work out for what your job is. And then from there, historically it was always, all right, they have the times picked. Everything that's left over, you guys can snatch up and do for the selectors wish team.
So the easiest way for you would be let that all happen, get all the coaches, get their
Right.
set, and then have the select team fill in all the gaps.
Which is
Right,
what,
right.
which is what we offer.
And that's immediately why I put in the request for all of the February use. I was like, if I don't have anything to offer coaches, and I even communicated with them like, yeah, I had to take this all for February, but whatever's left over, like, I'll let you know so that way you can fill in with.
And we clearly communicated that intention of, listen, let us get our team set, and then we will go back to the select team coach and say, hey, listen, all this space is open for you. Our intention wasn't just to monopolize the gym, it was to get our kids to play and then to offer up. Another part of this conversation I think is important to point out is the director from the community center did point out that she had had a conversation with a select team coach, who I think, as Sky points out, continually tells us how if we would just cancel all of our other programs, there'd be plenty of room for basketball. And so I have no doubt that that was his pitch to her too. Well, they can make it work, they just don't want to, which just isn't, they didn't, would love to have them to have taken the time to simply hear our side of that argument. And
But it sounds like the math would work.
For the
Our usage and their usage would work.
yeah, absolutely.
People need to be flexible.
They may not get every 2-hour slot they want.
Right.
And but I think the answer is yes, there's enough space there. It's just they've given them the prime time and given us the cuts off the edge.
And the way the system's set up, like you have to put in to request all of those, but then there's also used by this basketball club at the high school gyms at certain times, which then might not be used there, but there's no way to know what that schedule is.
Yeah, they've been practicing there. That's why I was thinking.
You're saying the select team is practicing at the high school
Yeah.
too.
There's 3 select.
Yeah, but it's the same select team that you're talking about.
Oh, yes.
They're practicing that.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is like, yeah, I support the basketball, but at the same time, like, this is our one opportunity.
And for
For this
this
age
grade,
group,
we're gonna have practices and games.
Yeah.
Games are scheduled generally, I'm assuming Saturdays, right?
Games are on Saturday.
Right, yeah, that's not a bump with futsal, like,
Now, Saturday's not a problem. They're-
so it's just the practices for those parents and the kids. Yeah,
And
know.
it's boys and girls, and it's rec league open to everybody.
And you can't go in the high school gym.
I don't try to, because I know how pressed they are over there for space, and it changes so much, so it'd be so hard to schedule.
High school gyms are maxed because, whereas when I was coaching basketball, for example, when we moved to the high school, I would take the basketball team and we would coach down. We would still use the middle school gyms. Now that got changed because they didn't want to bus kids back and forth. So now you have middle school and high school teams practicing. Those gyms are used.
Boys
all
and
week
girls.
long. Yeah.
And to be blunt,
Yeah.
the select team has connections in the school district that are high up enough that they could, certainly would probably be able to open some doors that we would have. You guys are getting the raw emotion of this because we've been dealing with it for a week, but it kind of blew up right before the meeting. The bottom line is we're going to work to fix our relationship, but we're also going to look for answers. But from you guys' perspective, I think it's also important to know there is a possibility if coaches and parents can't do right after school or don't want to do a 7:30 o'clock practice in the weekday, are not going to be real happy. And we're certainly not going to throw anyone under the bus, but we're going to be very transparent as to the limitations we have. But anytime there's a possibility of negative emotions, it's important that you guys know that, we're going to try very hard to get those kids to play basketball. I don't know if it'll work.
and a longstanding history of doing really wonderful things for young people. That's what bothers me, quite honestly.
Yeah.
As someone who invested time in that and I see value behind it.
Yeah.
You got 65 parents that send their kids to public school
Yeah.
and they're being told, I'm sorry, we don't have any room for your kids. And so that right there is the crux for me.
And basketball in particular has suffered a lot since COVID because of it being an indoor sport and the schools were really prolonged in how long it took until they allowed us back in the gym. So it's,
So more to come. Hopefully next month I'll have a report of a healed relationship and fourth and fifth grade boys and girls playing basketball. So we'll see.
Thanks for the effort. I honestly, it's a cool thing. That should not play out that way.
It's been really stressful for the last.
I mean, it's kind of that when we did the field usage meetings where we brought all the users to the table and talked about, like, it's the thing that they kind of need to do, right? It's what you were doing for them before.
Yeah.
But like, if you sat down and they sat down and you guys did the little shell game and you made it all fit, like that would solve it all in, hour and a half sitting around the table.
Yeah.
And
A
otherwise.
big part of it's the game of telephone that's being played. You've got you've got a staff at the community center, a district administration, and new players in the game as well. And that's why I said, I think the final word that gets back to the superintendent and or community center is lost in that, to Matt's point about sitting down and just saying, hey, we can do this.
And the superintendent has got a lot of other things more important on our plate than this issue. So I get that it isn't like this, but to be fair to us, we're building a pool. So we also have other things on our plate. So I get that priority. Yeah, you're right. And there's a lot of issues.
So
So
it's 65 kids, like that's.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can get lost in all the administrivia. It's
Yeah,
65 kids.
exactly.
that's what it should be about. And they're kids who, I had two daughters that played basketball. One was tall and really good, and one was, better off on a team that didn't make cuts. It's a nice way to put it, right? So, it's important to give these opportunities to kids in a recreation setting where they can go and play and have fun and exercise.
Yeah, and like I set that one up too, because the middle school teams now can be sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, but we will take any sixth grader that didn't play on that middle school team, so they're having the opportunity to show up and play in that too. So I was just looking at, we have quite a few sixth graders.
When do we have to have this solved by for the league to actually happen?
Next day or two.
Yeah.
I think Scott and I will sit down tomorrow and then we will talk about, okay, here are the openings that we could fit in. Then we go back to the coaches. He did have a coaches meeting last night and he kind of updated them that they could do this. And so the question becomes, are the coaches available at these slots? And then it's going to the parents and, being willing to refund parents who say, I don't want my kid out till 8:30, or I can't get them to the community center. If it was here, it would be easier because the kid could walk.
Yeah, if you're saying nobody changes anything, you take the slots you get that you already got. And if the league fits and works and the coaches work, great. If it doesn't.
Each team would get an hour to an hour and a half practice a week, just one practice.
In a shared gym occasionally.
But what we can, the only way to get past that is to say, we'll have two teams practicing in the gym at the same time.
Which isn't a horrible thing. I've done a lot of coaching with two, particularly if they're the same age, you can scrimmage against each other at the end of practice. But that's what we're doing tomorrow, is now we're going back to the drawing board and then communicating that with parents in a way that's fair, but also clear that these are tough things. And if this doesn't work for you, let us know because I get it. It's been fun.
Guys, the risk is we put it on parent, volunteer, coach to say, I can't make this work. Okay, you're the reason that the league's not going to happen. Well,
No. Yeah. No.
Right. But that they could be walking away saying, I couldn't make it work. So these kids are not going to get to play. I guess the school's kind of turning it against, it's a little bit of a.
Yeah, I'll be sending an email out to all the parents explaining the situation, not maybe in the depth that we're going into now, but explaining that we did what we were supposed to do and the community center and the school district made a decision to give away the space and that these are the slots that they've given us available. And so for that reason, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I also don't want to throw us or our volunteers or anyone else with just the facts. Again, not looking to make this into a confrontation, but there are facts of the case here that are indisputable.
Yeah, and again, the piece of, at no time did anybody reach out to say, hey, can you explain what it is, why you're requesting this, what it is that's going on? Like, just that part dumbfounded. Because that seemed like that would have been the simplest solution. And we tried to get
Multiple
conversations,
times,
and it
yeah.
just wasn't happening.
Yeah. So that's our basketball situation. The longest staff recorded history. Thank you, Sky. Sky has.
But we got a lot of, first through third grade, we got 8 teams that are practicing.
And they are, and they're fun and they're cute and they're bringing their little basketballs and dribbling down the sidewalk. So good things are happening and we will fix this too. One way or the other. Polar bear dive was successful. Well done, Sky. 150 plus participants on a beautiful sunny January.
Good high tide.
Good high tide. There you go. We've entered a contract with Driftwood Saunas. They'll be bringing portable sauna to Trustland Trails. People will pay them directly. We'll get 15% of the revenue. The goal was to be out there a couple weekends a month. They went out to the polar bear dive and did kind of a soft launch out there and was very popular from what I understand.
In the interest of, well, sort of fairness and transparency, they are not the only portable sauna on the south end.
Correct.
Was there any reaching out to those folks or?
No, but we did let the gal know that's doing this, that if, same thing with like a food truck, you know, we may do a food truck, but if multiple food trucks want in, then, you know, there's a fairness thing. So we did let her know that if competition arises, that we would have to go out to bid or do something like that. I don't know how popular this is going to be. It's a trial basis. We're having very similar conversations now about food trucks this summer and how we're going to do those. We'll be bringing that back. So
So
yes,
the concept is they're gonna have a portable sauna at Trustland Trails
yes,
in the parking lot.
yes.
Well,
People will sign up.
get that sauna.
Yep.
As a sauna person who spent a lot of time in Finland and
Yeah.
most recently with my son and sauning every day,
Yep.
it seems weird, quite honestly, because it's in a parking lot. There's no water, there's no plunge. You're just, going in and sweating it out and then jumping back in your Honda and taking off.
So you better at the parking lot at Goss Lake.
So, like I see it at the polar bear plunge or by a lake or something.
In the interest of them, the people that ran it approached us and just said, we want to make sure we're doing everything legitimately on the up and up, where it's not just pulling up somewhere, because they reached out to the county and some other places and nobody would get back to them with an answer of what they could do. And we were like, let's see how it goes. I know they have one that's at, Lighthouse Park, but I mean, if it's Goss Lake, then they're having to get a hold of Fish and Wildlife to look on
And
it.
we talked about that too, as I recall. We talked about the lakes would make a lot more sense, but you need to get other permission. Well, it's a trial basis. We'll see. She seems very organized, trying to do the right way, trying to do things the right
It's
way.
a sauna.
I think
So
it's-
person sauna, it's a wood burning sauna.
One.
And
It's like an air
trailer.
It's one on a trailer.
Yeah.
And apparently this is a thing nationally now.
No, Seattle City Parks has a relationship with a
Yeah.
couple and they're there constantly, all day long. And
They
they're-
like water.
Their
Yeah,
competitors,
Golden
Park
Garden.
at
Robinson,
Robinson.
they do Robinson and then they do Mead.
Yeah.
it's possible they're gonna find out what you guys are saying, which is without the water, you lose an interest level. But she seems pretty motivated to be creative. She talked about kid things that where parents could go in and they could do kid hiking there. And it's a trial basis. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting.
Maxwell Beach Park too.
Our new pickleball machine's being used. We're offering more classes. Katie, our rec leader, is doing a lot more instruction these days with that new machine. Sky and I toured the fairgrounds today, looking at potential program space, particularly looking at dog classes, trying to get those back. And maybe other things we look at, maybe they have a commercial cooking kitchen there. The thought is we're looking at maybe doing speaking of ILAs and those kind of things, a joint user agreement with a Port of South Whidbey, just for that purpose where we can share equipment. Tom, as you'll see in a little bit, met with the parks manager down there a couple weeks ago. He wanted to kind of pick Tom's brain.
Park manager?
I don't know if that's the title, but the guy that runs the
facilities or?
Yeah, I don't know his exact title, but I call him the parks manager. It's the guy that's overseeing the parks down there for the Port of South Woodby. So anyways,
Christian
yes, I don't know his title.
facilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so they struck up a relationship. Christian was able to pick a lot of Tom's brain, but kind of started this conversation of it would be nice to be able to do golf classes and use some of this space and maybe a concert out there. Maybe, they have a nice meeting room, maybe different options out there. So we'll see where that goes. If before anything comes, if that comes together, we'll bring that to you guys to review at a future meeting. Facilities, we're starting the bid process to get the asphalt projects done for 2026. We know that as 2026 gets later, it's going to be incredibly busy with the pool, so we're trying to get some of the stuff done early. This year, we're doing the entranceway at Trustland Trails. We're doing the pickleball parking lot. And if we're going to do as a alternate bid, a couple spots in the community park, but we'll see if there's money left over. I mentioned the Tom thing. If you go into the sports complex, Tom and his crew created a new planter area. It looks beautiful. As you enter the complex, the community park gate is off right now. It's being redone, so it's going to be moved closer to the entrance as part of the pool project. So McBride fence is out there over the next week or so, getting that put in. I mentioned the ILA. Eric and Jennifer's are two ILA people. I put in your pile there a kind of a conversation thing for the ILA as far as talking points. I think it'd be nice. Jennifer's going to be gone for a couple of weeks, but maybe later in February or early March, the three of us can sit down and chat. And I also mentioned to Jennifer, it might be a good idea to revisit something we talked about when I first started, which was the idea of a director annual review, which ironically you two were going to do, and I forget someone got sick or something happened where that didn't happen. So maybe we could double dip and talk about that a little bit in lieu of what happened at that other parks district. That was one of the things that the state had come down on then, was that the director didn't have a review process. So anyways, long story short, I'd like to talk to you guys about that ILA, set a meeting for late February, early March, and there. We're looking at a new program registration system. Sportsman is our current system. We're not sure if it can handle all the changes that we're going to be going through as a company, as a business. So we're going to meet with them in a few weeks next month to kind of talk through what they can do. If not, we're looking at other possible options. Changing registration systems is a monumentally task. It's not easy, but it's a lot easier with four of us learning it than growing our system and then realizing we now have 8 or 10 of us and we have to teach all of you how to do it. So
You don't want to use Google Forms?
Google, we apparently don't know how to do that. So if only we knew. And then Sky and Carrie and Tom and I met yesterday with people looking to bring back Children's Day. Formerly a very popular event. They're looking to do it on the 12th. This year, we're planning to host the event, but not partner directly. So we will be out there with some fun activities. And they seem pretty motivated and organized. So
That was Heather Snorri, and who was
Yeah.
the other?
it's a gal from the library. Not getting her name. And Katie Watkins, yes, is the other person who's involved in this. So they have their own committees. They've taken all of Carrie's notes literally and said, yeah, we'll just do this. So when we went out there yesterday, I said, okay, so what do you guys think about for layout? And they said, well, Carrie's layout. And I said, it seems to work out pretty well. So, and yeah, I'm excited. I think this is going to be again, trying to get more things for kids. That's a great addition. So thank you for your patience and what was a very full staff report. And other than being closed on President's Day, that is it for this.
Did you figure out if you wanted to go with diesel or propane generator?
Yes, we are going with diesel. And it's going to save about $150,000. And yeah, it's a huge, and it's going to simplify. That doesn't even count the trenching savings and all of the other things. It's
extra pipes.
Yeah, it may even save more than that by the time it's done. So, right. Thank you. Yep.
Any committee or community meeting reports?
Well, Lone Lake appeared in the newspaper in December. So to summarize, it sounded like a couple people from Island County staff, somebody from Natural Resources, and I think somebody from Public Health, made a presentation to the commissioners, putting forth a grant proposal. And there were a couple choices. One, to apply a treatment to kind of quench the nutrients in Lone Lake, or a monitoring program for the lakes, or a grant program for taking care of some invasive plants. And after a long discussion, the commissioners decided to apply for the grant to take care of the invasive weeds. And a couple weeks later, there was a response letter in the newspaper from the Lone Lake residents saying we were really dismayed to read that. They were really hoping that the grant that would be applied for would be to take care of the nutrients. But what the commissioners also recommended to the staff was that as part of the work plan for 2026, that they look at a grant for monitoring to then be applied for in 2027. So they're still basically saying we need more information before we decide to try this nutrient suppression plan. So that was Lone Lake in the news. I have not heard recently from the Lone Lake residents. And there's a lake Fish and Wildlife meeting tomorrow,
Well,
Yeah.
9 a.m. I think.
9 a.m. for the district, the
Mhm.
committee that we've joined. That's lakes.
The Zoom thing. Zoom.
Yeah.
Any other committees? All right, we'll move on to unfinished business.
Oh,
sorry.
personal, I walked the new trail, like past the pickleball court,
Mhm.
put in over the holidays with
Mhm.
family, and people were oohing and eyeing over it.
Yep,
Very
I've
nice.
done it this past weekend and it's been gravel
Yeah.
it's very nice.
What they do it well. All right, comprehensive plans, pickleball. Tom and his crew refurbished the old community park fence. You remember that we put the new fence up around fields 2 and 3. Tom and his guys took the fence and repurposed it to create fencing at the pickleball court. So you see this is the trail going down. The pickleball courts are kind of down to the bottom there. So you have fencing there. And then you see as you're driving down the hill to where the parking lot is, they put this in to kind of protect the drain field. New little parking lot is right there. So well done by them. Good use of their of resources and a nice addition to that little park. And last month, we obviously met in the dark, so didn't have a chance to share the picture, but this is the picture of Harry and Kathy receiving the dedication bench that you guys approved that the Whitney Dogs had purchased for them. Is that the way, am I saying that?
Outdoor dog.
Outdoor Dogs, excuse me. I knew I was saying that wrong. They had purchased this as an honor to Barry and Kathy and the work they had done. So anyways, that was a cute picture.
And were they able to keep it a surprise?
I think so. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. So, a great addition and certainly well deserved by both of those two. The pool project's proceeding as schedule. Great weather is certainly helping. Drying things out is a big thing. Tomorrow, 2 pools are being dug out, which will be a lot of fun. So we're going to see a lot of excavating on site. The water tower site has been cleared. Piping has started throughout the park. If you go in the park right now, it's quite a mess. Tom's little vein in his head starts to throw up. It was.
It's very funny watching the squirrels come up on those big, figure out.
Well, they got about 500 yards of it laid down and then they didn't do it to the plan. So then the guys who were doing it said, well, this is the way we normally do it. And they didn't look at the plan. So they had to dig out They spent 2 more days. They had to dig it all out and do it again because,
On their,
oh yeah, definitely on their
Not
dime.
ours.
Yeah, oh, no, not on our dime. That was quite a, and yeah, it's such a, it's, the 2,000 feet or whatever from, it's quite a project right now, but the good thing is we're doing it now. They're doing it in January when the park has not as much use, although this weather certainly has drawn the numbers up. But once that part is done and the water tower stuff is done, really the work can really focus on the site, which will be a lot easier for park users. And we've had to close the park 3 days so far, including yesterday, kind of unexpectedly because of this. They had asked for 2 days of closing the park entrance, which we gave them, and then because they had to redo it, they needed another day. So that's why it was closed yesterday, or actually it was closed today. Just the entrance, they could still walk around, but with the school being closed off because of their construction, they either had to enter through our old office path or they had to come down from the sports complex. So not ideal, but there won't be too many of those closures left. So that is there. This is the most recent drone picture, which was taken, I think, on the 9th of January. So fun to watch it all come together. Lakes, we talked a little bit about this. We received copies of updated agreements. This is something we asked for last spring, so it's great. They got on it, and we'll talk about that later in the meeting. And then we have scheduled our annual lakes visit, which I think we found very valuable the last couple of years. This is where Jake and Krista and I and Tom will meet with people from the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and we will visit all 3 lake sites and talk about things that need to be done or things that we said would be done last year that haven't been done. Or we're all pretty good. So that are the comprehensive plans. Questions?
moving on to new business, Department of Fish and Wildlife Agreement.
Well, speaking of that, the agreement, after being reviewed, very similar to the agreement that we had in the past is what they put in front of us. There wasn't too many changes. In your packet, I made a couple side notes of things that we kind of want to just clarify with them. But the agreements are for up to 10 years, including your packet. I just put the Goss Lake agreement in there because all 3 agreements were pretty much the same. They just had different addresses and a different picture of the lake. So I've reviewed them, Tom's reviewed them. Didn't see anything drastic that we would change other than that, but wanted to give you guys a chance if there's anything that you'd like to see negotiated in or out of the agreement. That would be the time. So I do have.
So in that second paragraph under purpose, are you reading that to say that we can't charge a program?
That's why it needs to clarify.
Okay.
We need to make sure they understand. I can read it 2 ways. I can read this as you can't have an entrance fee into the park. But we obviously do some programming out there. So we need to make sure that that's clear that there's a difference in those 2. So then just a few other things I highlighted that I think just, the preseason meeting was, I don't know why I highlighted that, but yeah, that's obviously important. But let me see what other notes I made. Need to clarify the total cost. Right now, they have a thing where we can basically spend up to $100 if we need to fix something. Doesn't seem like much. I mean, we spend more on paint when we need to do that. So and I don't think we've ever billed them for this. So we probably need to clarify if that needs to be increased or.
Where's the Long Lake swim dock thing fall in this?
There's a thing in there about capital, which is that they're responsible for capital improvements.
But in terms of like correcting a safety hazard, that like supplies and repairs seems like it's to do something,
Right.
really urgent.
Yeah, and I'd have to find the capital thing, but there's something, the thing about capital, I think just says that they're in charge of all of the capital. We're in charge of basically the bathrooms, and I'd have to find that, but that's good verbiage to make sure that.
Right. I would just say that was just a scar. Like I had 5 or 6 people to say, okay, can you fix this little thing? And so somehow a provision that says if there's something that's a safety hazard or that prevents public use, that we can fix it. and charge you guys for it, or we can find an agreement on cost and then fix it, but not wait for a capital cycle that takes a year.
Or that they'll respond to the situation, or take care of the situation
Exactly.
within 90
Yeah.
days, or,
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
72 hours.
because that does affect our reputation.
Well, that dock took a long time, and hey, these guys aren't on site, they're not on island, and so I get that, but that dock was a safety issue, that ramp that was going on it, the cracks in it where you can put your foot in.
Yeah.
It's still, I don't love it. And last year when we met, they were talking about taking that second dock just completely out, because they put the new fishing dock in, so that's their priority is fishing. And so I'd be interested to see where they are with that, because I see the value, and I get kids in the summer want to swim, and I get it, and don't want to take away those options. But they're going to get hurt, and I think tightening the verbiage in there is a good one. I'd put that in my notes. If we deem it to be a safety issue, then that we should have some flexibility to fix it,
Yeah.
or to close it off, or to do something. Because right now we're just maintenance out there. I'm trying to find it while I'm reading, and that's not going to work well. So
That's fine. I just mean like, if the public loses access, then there should be a rapid response. For safety or access issue. And long-term capital, we want to make it better, bigger. Sure.
And so I'll throw that in there. The vault toilet, I just put in there that we don't want to contract for the pumping. That became a real challenge with us as the middle people a couple of years ago. This last one, it says upon cancellation or termination of the agreement, operator shall restore the premises in a condition that's as good or better than when they found it, yada, yada, which makes sense. I get what they're saying here. But I'm thinking about, what if there was extreme vandalism? What if there was an act of God? What if there was something else that we couldn't, again, extreme situation that wouldn't make us necessarily walk away from this agreement, but that's a minor thing. So all my comments were pretty minor. I thought, I didn't think there was too much interesting. So is there anything else you guys want to add, or thoughts or concerns, or does it bother you?
I mean, that originally, that was when they very first came to the park with that sentence said, you put it back the way you got it.
Yeah.
Like if you put in a fishing dock, the public, and you give it back to Fish and Wildlife, you have to take the fishing dock away. So that to me is a positive change.
Yeah.
Like as good, like you fix the dock, and we don't have to like break it. Because literally that's what it used to say. If it was broken first and you fix it, break it so that we get it back the exact same way.
One of the biggest challenge out there is jurisdiction, right? It's who is in charge of what. Those docks being a great example. No one owns the docks, and no one owns those buoy lines at Deer Lake. No one wants to touch those with a 10-foot pole. Last summer when the line broke and it was just floating out there, I think it was a citizen just went out there and fixed it back, because Island County's like, we're not doing it, and Artificial Wildlife is like, that's not ours. And we're like, well, it's nobody's really. That's the problem. And so because we get a lot of those calls that, hey, someone's jet skiing too fast. Well, it's Island County, and Island County says, well, that's not us. And they don't. There's a lot of jurisdiction challenges at those lakes that it'd be nice to have cleaner. Speaking of groups that should get together and meet, Fish and Wildlife, Island County, and us would be a great quarterly meeting, which we've tried. At least we brought up. I'm trying to find the right person from Island County is a challenge, just because it's a little bit more spread out. But anyways, any other comments on the agreement? But there'll be a final copy brought to you before we do anything. So this is just a chance for initial comments.
I want to invite somebody from Island County to this meeting in February.
Yes, you know who that person would be. Yeah, that it's always trying to find the right person, and that's always been kind of the challenge. Yes, I would love to have someone that could speak to that part of it, because we're kind of going on assumptions. We've heard, okay, when it hits the water, it's Island County. Well, is that true? Is there other things there we need to know? It's an Island County sign that posts the speed limits and the rules in the lake. So, yeah, good idea, Kristen.
Have we ever seen a sheriff's department boat out there? In the lakes? Probably deer if there was one.
Deer in summer. I
I've
have.
never seen a sheriff's boat.
I never seen or heard of one.
They come to the parking lot. They'll drive, but they'll do
Yeah.
drive-bys at all the lakes. I've seen them.
Seen a sheriff's boat. I think And then it goes
Fourth of
to
July,
other
please.
agencies. Once it goes on the water.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's all I have for this. Like I said, we'll bring back when we get an updated copy from Department of Fish and Wildlife, we'll give initial comments, and then when there's something to actually vote on, we'll bring it back to you.
EFT policy.
All right, well, as part of our audit with the state of Washington, we were informed that we should have an electronic fund transfer policy. So we created one. So it's as simple as that. Staff have included, Carrie in particular did a lot of work putting this together using MRSC and other resources to come up with a pretty straightforward, simple policy. No, not much to say other than
Only feedback I had reading it, and my computer died before I could go back and check, but you use a term called the financial department. About, the financial department will, the financial department should.
The finance department and the County
But
treasurer.
you never define like what is the financial department in the district.
Yeah.
So I would say upfront in that first section of terms,
With the term.
stick, what is the financial department? It's you and you, or you and the treasurer, it's you and whatever.
Should I whip something together so that you can approve it? Or actually, you know what? In there, it says that we can modify it.
it does.
So
It does say we
Well,
can
we
make
will do that.
modifications. Good. Any other comments on the EFP? Very exciting policy. But it's important, I guess. Yeah, make the auditors happy, we will.
Ready for a motion? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the new electronic fund transfer policy as presented with the modifications discussed.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the new electronic funds transfer policy as presented with modifications as discussed. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, I.
Krista, I.
Jake, I.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes.
And in this similar, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna keep going here. Resolution 2026-01, the appointing of investment officers. Sorry, let me scroll down here a little bit, get through the EFT policy. Here we go. Island County has a new requirement that we submit a resolution identifying our investment officers. Attached in your packet is resolution 2601. Staff recommend approving the resolution. Logically, Carrie and I were two of those. We put Krista as the auditing officer as the third. Again, pretty straightforward.
What's the role of the investment officer?
They would basically sign the documents if Carrie and I weren't here. Is basically review it if we weren't here.
So do you remember the investment letter that I prepare it, I do the calculations, and then that is provided to the person who's going to sign it. And they.
If you do the calculation, you can't sign it.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I would usually sign it, but if I'm not here, Krista would sign it. Or if I put it together, which would just be a nightmare, then Krista carries on vacation. No, but it's just that check and balances.
And one of the changes is that they now require this to be updated annually. So January will update
I didn't
that.
catch that. Okay. Open for discussion or a motion?
Can you scroll through it?
Oh, sorry, yes, did I?
Can I just mention the changes that are in the investment policies procedures? So the most significant change that they have is it used to be that the investment pool was more liquid. You just had to give them 2 business days notice to transfer money in and out of investments. And now if it's, up to 500,000, it's still 2 business days. If it's 2 million, anyways, we're up to 10 business days now. So unfortunately, this means that we have to estimate really far in advance how much we're gonna spend, mostly out of the construction. It just means less interest earned.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're getting less interest.
Yeah. Unless you move it in smaller increments.
Yeah, if we do a bunch of, yeah, that's true.
I mean, if they're driving that and it's to our financial detriment and not split it up, we should split it up.
Well, and we are splitting it up to a degree, so it's combined transactions for that day. So for instance, I usually would lump, M&O, reserve, construction fund, all of those investments into one request. So now we're just doing construction fund and then the rest on a different day. So that we don't have to estimate as high. Whereas, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-01 to appoint the district's investment officers.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2026-01 to appoint the district's investment officers. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, I.
Krista, I.
Jake, aye.
And
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. You guys have it, and the motion passes. With that, we are adjourned at 7:51.